Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow.
You're listening to Meow FM.
Meow.
Good evening. You've tuned into the Insiders Out show on 103.8 Meow FM, and I am your host RJ Tania. Before I begin, let me ask you guys, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention the word witch? Do you imagine a lady in a dark robe roaming through the forest at midnight with her hair let down? Sorry folks, I'm not going to talk about sorcery, kala jadoo or planchet. On our show today, I am going to talk about a little known religion called Wicca. What is Wicca? For those of you who think that Wicca must be about black magic and evil spirits, let me tell you that Wicca, the religion, is far, far away from these ideas. Is it a religion like any other? Oh, yes, it is. With its own set of beliefs and practices, that too. This sounds like a great going happy story, I guess, doesn't it? Up until the point I find out that Wiccans, the practitioners of Wicca, also call themselves witches and they call their worship witchcraft. Now, do you see where the problem lies? It is because of the negative stigma that is attached to the word witch and witchcraft that Wiccans all around the world have been hunted, tried, and even burnt down. The misunderstood cat in Meow FM couldn't take it anymore. And in today's program, Meow FM brings to you the truth about Wicca, the religion. Wicca draws a great deal from nature and is all about imitating life the way it is. You live without any baggage, you live freely. That is what Wicca is. Wicca originates from an Old English word, wiki, which means the wise. It is basically a lifestyle choice and has nothing to do with voodoo or any spooky abracadabra. Wiccans are either solitary worshippers or they worship in groups called covens. Wiccans, the practitioners of Wicca, they worship many gods. Wiccans also believe that whatever you do, be it good or bad, comes back to you. Not once, not twice, but threefold. For those of you who have just tuned in, you're listening to the Insiders Out show, and today we're enlightening you about the ancient religion called Wicca and how it is often misunderstood. In our studio, we have with us two Wiccans, Sarah and Rontideb. Both Sarah and Rontideb are solitary practitioners of Wicca. Listeners, let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth. For any questions on Wicca, call us on 244-1139. Meanwhile, I'm going to ask Wiccan Sarah here the first question. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Can you tell our listeners what you mean when you call yourself a Wiccan?
I do not ride brooms at midnight, nor would I go for a midnight mass with Satan. You see, Satan is not my fiancé. When I say I'm Wiccan, I mean that I celebrate every aspect of nature. I respect even a tiny droplet of rain that falls on my cheek, since I've been taught to respect it. I'd even value every form of life, even the animal giving me its flesh for dinner.
True. I don't see any pointed hat on your head. Neither can I spot a wand on you. You're definitely different from what we would expect a witch to look like. Listeners, if you have any questions regarding Wicca, please call us on 244-1139. We've got our first caller for the day. Hello, who am I speaking to?
Hello, this is Bagisha here.
Witches have always reminded me of the Wicked Witch of the East from The Wizard of Oz. I still remember how she says,
"You killed my sister, the Wicked Witch of the East?
I'll get you and your little ones too.
Witches do remind us of our childhood fairy tales. So, Bagisha, what is the question you want to ask the Wiccans here?
I want to ask Ronti Deb whether he has a cat or a broomstick by any chance?
Thank you, Bagisha. Well, that was a very apt question to ask on Meow FM. I'm connecting you to our second Wiccan on the show. Ronti Deb, we have with us here a caller and she wants to know whether you have a cat or a broomstick by any chance.
Oh, I have a cat. I have a cat. She is my familiar. That is just another fancy way of saying she is my daughter. Now, I believe, and this is again my theory, I have a lot of theories. A familiar, as you can understand from the word, means someone with whom you develop a familiarity. It can be a human being, it can be an animal, it can be anyone. Familiar is a fancy word for someone whom you do not denigrate as a pet. The word pet or the concept of a pet is extremely regressive. Extremely regressive. To have a pet is to dominate another form of life. Is to somehow subconsciously keep reminding yourself that you are the more superior, the more dominant species. Right. Now, with my familiar, my relationship, or I at least I strive to maintain an equilibrium in our relationship. That is to say, I do not treat my familiar as an object whom I own, but I treat my familiar as a form of life who has every right to live in its nature. Every being has a different nature. Every being has different preferences. So my familiar and I should be able to cohabit without both of us going against each other's nature. We have to be mutually respectful to each other and respectful of each other's natures. And about the broomstick, yes, witches do have broomsticks, as does every other human being who has a decent room and a clean room. I mean, if you have a room which is clean, you must have a broomstick, notwithstanding your religious denomination. I have heard even atheists are carrying broomsticks these days. And for the more advanced witches, they have vacuum cleaners.
Now that we've cleared the ground regarding cats and broomsticks, let's move on to the next caller. Hello, you're on the Insiders Out show. Who am I speaking to? And what would you like to ask the Wiccans here?
Hi, this is Barkha here, and I want to ask, who do Wiccans pray to?
Thank you, Barkha, for calling. I'll let Rontideb Mukherjee take your question. Rontideb, please tell our listeners who you Wiccans pray to.
It differs. It differs. There is no one god or goddess that a witch could pray to. A witch may or may not pray to a god or a goddess. You may not have a very theistic idea of your universe. That is not to say that you're an atheist. You could be an atheist. You could be an agnostic. But what is important is for you to understand who you are, to know yourself and to know your craft and to know who you are. And I think essentially and at the very god or goddess, there isn't any one particular god and goddess. Anyone can be worshipped. I mean, even Jesus Christ can be a witch's god, for that matter. And even Darth Vader can be a witch's god. Even Spider-Man can be worshipped if one would set one's mind to do it. Because every god and goddess becomes an icon, becomes a register of something, of a collective of emotions that a person or the witch looks up to.
Interesting. It's like tailoring a religion to fit your size. Wicca as a religion doesn't believe in any one particular deity, but is more pantheistic in nature, right? So, Sarah, what are the practices or rituals you all follow as Wiccans? Can anyone and everyone practice Wicca? Is it really that simple?
Look, there is no one way of looking at things. Anyone can practice Wicca. The only rule being that you simply cannot harm anyone. Whatever you do, be that good, bad, it comes back to you. Three times worse. And also, breaking of consent is an absolute no no. You cannot do anything without anyone's consent. And that, I believe, is the most sacred bond. Wiccan spells and rituals are an imitation of everything that one sees in nature. For example, okay, let's go with this. If you're thankful for a good winter, so what would you do? You light fire on winter solstice, have wine with your friends, and be around people who share your same beliefs and probably meditate on the spirit of a goddess. The person concerned need not be a woman with 10 arms and even have a shape for that matter. Could be anything, even a lady in a robe or a shapeless entity. The main thing is about how you feel one with the universe, the primal energy, the germ of life.
Okay, so from what I have understood, there are basically as many denominations of Wicca as there are Wiccans. How very fascinating. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Who am I speaking to?
Yes, I'm Ram.
And what do you have to ask the Wiccans?
Yeah. So I want to ask whether all witches are women.
Ha 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 ha. Ronti Dev can answer that question. Ronti Dev. Are all witches women?
Women would spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Women would spend a lot of time indoors or collecting herbs and seasonings and other spices. They would know which herb to use in a kitchen to cooking and which herb not to. Now, whenever you eat something, it is not really out of pure whim that you add certain spices to your food to make your food taste a particular way. No, because these spices actually, when they are cooked together, these spices actually have an effect on the food. Therefore, that food tastes the way it tastes, right? It is the same way because these women would always study about these herbs, would always work with these herbs, even when they are cooking. They would learn how to heal and also how to harm. If a person can heal with herbs, a person can harm with herbs. But then these men of the society, I mean, there wasn't just one problem. There were many problems across various timelines across the world. Now, these men would not really subscribe to independent and strong women who could predict the future. Oracles. I mean, if you go back to ancient Rome, if you go back to ancient Pompeii, where almost everyone was an oracle, even then there was this division between female prophets and male prophets. It has always been there. So strong and independent women have somehow been feared. They have always been a source of mystery, enigma, and well, they have always intimidated the masculine race. So they have been inadvertently demonized.
I would like to remind our listeners that we have been talking to a male Wiccan. This clearly shows how gender neutral the term witch is. Wicca, the religion, can be practiced by anyone and is not gender limited. But there is also the negative or evil connotation attached to the word witch. Let us hear what Reverend Dr. Alex Thomas, priest of Marthoma Syrian Church of Malabar, has to say about the church's take on witches.
The ancient world believed that mental diseases, illness, and other misfortunes were caused by evil spirits. So people turned to witchcraft to do away these misfortunes. But in the modern age, science has proved that diseases are caused by germs, mental disorders are medical problems, which are to be healed by taking medicine. This is the view of the church. At the same time, church believes that God can perform miracles. For that, human agency is not needed. The church believes in God who can do miracles and healing. We emphasize prayer. Jesus taught that prayer can move mountains. So we Christians pray to God for healing, to overcome problems, and to make things happen. For that, we do not need any intermediaries. We totally depend on God's grace, and that is sufficient for overcoming problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for telling us the church's take on witchcraft. There somehow seems to be a confusion between the term witch and the working of evil spirits. The understanding of Wicca as a religion seems to be very incomplete. Ronti Deb, can you tell why you think there's an evil connotation attached to the term witch?
You have to understand that these Abrahamic religions were essentially a revolution of the working class, a revolution of the have-nots. It was essentially a revolution of the unprivileged. Now, the unprivileged part of the society, in order to become the privileged, I mean, that is what we always do. We demonize that which oppresses us. Anything that predominates needs to be denigrated before it dies down completely. Therefore, every ritual that used to be pre-Christian or pre-Abrahamic, pre-Jewish, everything got inverted and well, they were termed as evil and as unholy and as godless. Now, what these Abrahamic religions, I believe, and this is absolutely my theory, it is absolutely original, I believe what these Abrahamic religions have done is they have, in a way, taken the goodness from every concept of God. I mean, the concept of God, they have taken the concept of God and has divided that concept of God into two: objective good and objective bad. After dividing the concept of God into objective good and objective bad, the objective good was somehow made out to be this man who is bearded and who is sometimes vengeful and sometimes so sacrificing that he sends his own son to bear the burden of the human race and die on the cross in the end. And as the bad part, the God becomes, the God is stripped of every negativity, and that animosity is somehow projected onto this figure called the beast or the Satan. What you have to understand is this Satan or the beast is also God. So the entire humanity becomes a battlefield for good and evil. It is a metaphor. So evil in that way, it does not exist as a prerequisite of the witchcraft. I mean, there are good people everywhere. Christians were extremely evil. They were the reason for 60,000 women, their deaths. 60,000 or more women died because of witch trials. They were conducted by honest, good Christian men and women. So would you not call them evil? Those women were literally drowned and burned and hanged. That's evil. It happened all over the world, across history. Look, same witch trials. It started in medieval Europe. It is still happening today in India, even in the 21st century.
Yes, even in India, to this day, we read so many articles on how women are tagged as witches and beheaded. The tag of a witch is a very heavy one to carry. It is misunderstood like many other ideas or myths created by popular belief. But a Wiccan who practices Wicca does not fit into what society thinks of as a witch. Very little is known about Wicca and what a Wiccan actually does. So a Wiccan cannot really come out and tell everyone, hey look, I'm a witch and I'm practicing witchcraft. Ronti Deb, can you elaborate a little bit on this? Why do most Wiccan witches choose to remain anonymous?
Anonymity has always been a part of witchcraft. I believe it has always been a part of witchcraft primarily because of the witch trials. There was a point in history when to confess or to openly call yourself a witch was punishable by death. Think of Stonewall and think of homosexual people in the 70s or in the 60s. it was exactly like that. Or think about that. I mean, witches and homosexuals have always been killed. It is extremely funny if you look at it that way. But then, and shoes, of course. But but then, you have to understand that witches and homosexuals and Jews have always been killed by Christians and fanatics and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. Secrecy is funny because you don't have a reason to be so hushed up about your lifestyle. Right? Yes, it is advisable to not tom-tom about it, to just go about the streets and proclaim the true witch and look how mysterious you are. It kind of goes against the entire concept, you see. And witchcraft is basically a part of mystery and of beauty and of enigma in nature. So I guess that way, speaking less would be more mature. It would be a more mature thing. Right. But then I don't really see any major reasons of this secrecy code. But then there are covens, which is also Operation Covens. Covens would be a coven is a fancy word for a congregation like they have in churches, or like a mass. Now, different covens have different secrets of their herbs, maybe secrets of their craft. So they don't really like to talk about their secrets. But I think that's absolutely fair. I mean, if I have a secret and if I have a charm which works absolutely for me and only for me, and if I don't know if it works for you, if I don't know how you will receive it, and because my lifestyle choice is extremely secret to me, and because I don't know how you will see it, it is absolutely fair if I don't want to share it with you.
Witchcraft is magic. Wicca is a religion. Not all witches are Wiccans, but most Wiccans call themselves witches. This is what we learned today on our show from our two Wiccan guests, Sarah and Rontidev. Thank you, Sarah and Rontidev, for enlightening our listeners on Wicca the religion. Thank you, listeners, for being with us on the show. For more insight into another insider's world, tune in to the Insiders Out show next week. Same day, same time with me, RJ Tania, on Meow FM. Good night. This documentary is brought to you by Tania Thomas and co-produced by Joyona Medhi.
Meow 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 meow.